TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.
Hello everyone, welcome to the CFL Reports. We all knew there were serious problems with the Alouette franchise, but nobody really believed the Owls would disappear before the opening kickoff. Less than 5,000 fans in Montreal cared about the Alouettes and Canadian football in the end. With a season ticket base like that, there was no reason or incentive to carry on. The word of the Alouettes' demise leaked out late last night, and the official announcement came first thing this morning. The scene in Montreal Wednesday morning could be summed up by the empty lockers in the Alouette dressing room. At 9 a.m., Team President Norm Kimball met with players and members of the entire organization and informed them that the Montreal Alouette Football Organization was no more. Meanwhile, at a news conference in Toronto, CFL Commissioner Doug Mitchell made the announcement of the Alouette demise official.
I'm here to report to you that the Montreal Alouettes have folded. However, it's business as usual for the Canadian Football League, and the Toronto Argonauts will host the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here on Thursday night.
While many knew the team was on shaky ground, there was hope for all who worked to build a contender in Montreal until last night. Head coach Joe Farraghelli joins me now live from Montreal. Joe, are you bitter about what has transpired in the last 24 hours?
No, John, I'm not bitter. I'm probably disappointed, but not bitter. I would have liked the opportunity to, coach this year and get it turned around and get the whole thing going in the right direction. But disappointed, but not bitter.
Joe, a lot of things have happened to you in your coaching career in the Canadian Football League and in the National Football League. I guess coaches are never prepared for all the perils of coaching.
Well, John, I'll tell you the truth, I thought I saw it all, with all the different teams I've been with and the number of years I coached, but I'd never been with a club that folded, so it was a little bit different. It's kind of like being suspended in air. You don't know exactly whether it's true or not, and you keep thinking that tomorrow night we should be playing, and so you're kind of left hanging.
Joe, what did you tell the players today when you met with them? How did you explain things to them?
Well, I think after Norm had talked to them, I basically try to expound on it and to show them that Norm, was going to fulfill his obligation at the best that he could, that if he probably went on for 3, 4, 5 games or a month or two, he could have wound up like an 81, owing X number of dollars, and a lot of people would be bitter. It was a tough decision that he had to make. And my only other comment was I thanked them for the great effort they gave me, and my statement was that, the thing that I'm sorry is that we'll never know how good we were going to be. We'll just never be able to find that out.
What's next for Joe Farraghelli?
Well, I got a four-year-old grandson. Joseph called me on the phone today. Lives out in Saint Anne de Bellevue, and he calls me Grumps. And he said, Grumps, let's go to the beach, do a little fishing, and find a new team. And that's about the order I'm going to do it on.
Sad day, Joe. Thank you very much, and we'll keep in touch.
Right, thank you.
Well, the announcement came as a shock. I suppose we shouldn't be too surprised. The fans in Montreal had given up on football and on the Alouettes. The franchise had lost $17 million in 5 years. A player's viewpoints from second-year linebacker Mark Hopkins when we return. Welcome back to the CFL Report. Football players have to be a resilient lot, but there is little learned in practice drills to prepare them for a franchise collapse. The news today was a bitter pill for all Alouette players to swallow. Linebacker Mark Hopkins had just worked his way into a starter's job with the Alouettes. Mark, how did you hear about the collapse of the Montreal franchise this morning?
Well, actually, I heard about it kind of through the rumor mill late last night. A few other players that I called more or less confirmed my suspicions, and then it was just this morning when we heard it on the news that the team folding had been confirmed, and it was just the meeting to actually tell us for sure about it.
Players' feelings, how did most react this morning?
I think, as other players have probably said, it was a shock to them. There's no question, especially since we have so many new players. This was basically unheard of. The veterans knew that the situation existed, but like anything else, it's not till you actually hear that the team has folded that the real shock sets in.
Realistically, football could be over for a lot of your pals in that dressing room. I mean, this may be the end of the line.
There's no question. There's that 48-hour grace period in which teams have a chance to draft certain players. But after that, and as far as the time of the season where everybody has their roster set, it's very difficult to find a spot on somebody else's roster. It's a very difficult situation, especially for the Americans.
Does everybody wait now for the dispersal draft and just keep fingers crossed? Is that what Mark Hopkins does?
I believe so. In my case, yes. We're looking forward till Friday, hoping that somebody will claim us, hoping that somebody will have a place for us, and not that we're just going there to be a cannon fodder for a team. And I'm sure all the other players are in the same boat.
Good luck, Mark. We'll watch for your name on Friday out of league headquarters.
Thank you very much.
Leif Pedersen is alongside now, and we were getting ready for our first telecast on TSN, the Als and the Argos tomorrow night. A few quick changes, and we'll be there with the Bombers and the Argos. Athletes live in difficult times. Leif Pedersen?
Well, they really do, John, and it's very unfortunate to see a guy like Mark Hopkins, who's worked so hard in the preseason to attain a starting job, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out, and he has to wait till Friday for the draft. It's very tough.
As you looked at it, was it inevitable that the Montreal franchise would collapse?
Well, I think it was. When you have a season ticket base of 4,000 people in a city the size of Montreal, I think right off the bat you have to be concerned. And I really question some of the things that they did in the preseason. And number one would be to have a preseason game in Halifax and instead of in Montreal, where they try and create some interest and sell the club. But there's no question that they have been in trouble, and it was inevitable because Big Norm wasn't going to put any of his bread out.
Is there any area that gets direct blame for this? I mean, it was a proud franchise. Mid-'70s, things were sailing along.
Yeah, the biggest blame lies with the fans in Montreal. It was apparent that they did not want football because they didn't support the Alouettes. They have a tough time supporting the Expos, so it's turned from once a very proud sports city to a very humble sports city now.
Do you have a gut feeling about the league getting stronger or weaker because of this?
Well, some teams will definitely get stronger because Montreal had some good personnel. Joe Farragelli had put together a pretty good ball club, and so some teams will benefit from the dispersal draft and from free agents.
Okay, Leif, we'll get back to you in just a moment. Our man in Montreal, Michael Whalen, has been on this story all day and actually since the season got underway. Michael, I have to ask you exactly from your point of view, watching the situation in Montreal, what went wrong?
No, like everybody else, I feel that it was probably inevitable that it was going to happen. I mean, we've been hearing about it, we've been saying it in our reports that this was a make-or-break year for Montreal, and I guess we were just surprised that it happened at this point, that it might have happened earlier, not just on the verge of the first day of the first game of the season.
The French media has received some of the blame over the years. Is there any truth in that statement?
Well, all you have to do is, you know, there's one newspaper, a tabloid here in Montreal called the Journal de Montréal, and it's 1/3 of it is sports, and it starts from the back pages and works its way to the front, sort of thing, and the priorities are the back pages. And on most occasions, you'll find news on the Alouettes buried deep into the paper, you know, behind horse racing sometimes, you know.
Some say it hasn't been the same there for football since the days of Patterson and Echeverry back in the 60s. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, I guess so. As a child, anyway, I remember when they did trade away Sam Echeverry and Hal Patterson for Bernie Filoni and Don Paquette, and I never was the same about the Alouettes.
Well, I guess it'll never be the same for you again. Thank you, Michael, and good work in Montreal all day today.
Thank you.
When the news of the Alouettes folding became official, reaction across the CFL was swift, and nowhere was the weight of today's announcement more greatly felt than in Ottawa and Regina, two cities that have faced their own problems with football lately.
Well, first reaction, disappointment in one sense, that you hate to see a franchise, a long-term franchise like Montreal disappear. The other hand, though, I think it's important we get on with business. The franchise has been in big trouble for a lot of years. It looked like it wasn't getting any better. I think it was becoming a preoccupation. I think it was becoming a bad thing, not a good thing for the league. And I think it's time we get on with business. And I'm, right now, in that sense of it, I'm pleased that we made the decision. It is now history, and we're now on to the new CFL.
The first reaction from a lot of people is going to be that this is the first of 9 foldings coming up. Do you think that, is that possible?
I think the opposite's true. I think that the league as a whole is in very good shape. Ottawa, with its new management group, is in very good shape. Toronto is just fine. Hamilton's just fine. Certainly Winnipeg adds a new dimension to the Eastern Conference, and they're in very good shape. Our situation is now good. Calgary is just fine. Edmonton's a great franchise. Vancouver's a great franchise. I think that we are now in better shape than ever we had been for the last several years.
Quite clearly in Ottawa, Saskatchewan, and Calgary, the fans said we want very much to have a professional franchise here, and we're going to support it. We've got some frustrations with the franchise, and when I came into Ottawa, they had very clearly told us what their frustrations were, and so we've tried to address those. I think we've been successful in many of the areas, and I think the success of the team in the 2 preseason games has given the fans here some reason to believe that we're going to be a competitive football team on the field. So I obviously the Montreal operators did not see that kind of groundswell behind the Alouette franchise, and it's an unfortunate situation, but I think you have to be realistic in the approach.
Well, I'm sure they're all stunned. You know, you guys probably the first thing they sit down and the guys are going to think about, you know, what am I going to do for my future occupation? Am I going to be playing football, or am I going to have to find another job? You know, what about the lease I just signed? You know, things like that. It would be like getting hit over the head, I'm sure.
The team that had to react most quickly to the situation was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Not only did the Blue Bombers have to fill in for the Alouettes in Toronto tomorrow night, all of a sudden, Winnipeg, the gateway to the West, is a member of the 4-team Eastern Division. Here's Peter Watts.
The Bomber players were told about the demise of the Montreal franchise at a morning meeting in Winnipeg on Wednesday. 2 hours later, the team flew to Toronto.
We had a team meeting after practice yesterday, and he said that we have an emergency meeting. Everybody wondering, what is this? Is it a urinalysis test, or what is it? But it turned out that you know, that they folded, and it's the biggest surprise. You know, now it just keeps you on your toes and wondering what's going to happen next. Hopefully, that's the end of it, and we can get on with the season.
Bomber linebacker Delbert Fowler played for the Alouettes during parts of the 81 and 82 seasons.
It was just real difficult. I think the thing that they needed most was probably to win a Grey Cup. I think that would have been basically the only thing that would have got the fans really interested and really excited about football in that city.
The Bombers held one workout Wednesday afternoon in Toronto, their only preparation for the season opener against the Argonauts on Thursday night.
We go through training camp and a preseason setting a base and a foundation for the season, and this foundation has got to be flexible enough to play against all the teams that we're going to play, and hopefully we were able to do that, and I feel like it's been a fairly easy adjustment on a few things. We were getting ready for Edmonton to just turn over to Toronto, both offensively and defensively, and really the preparations come down to just a couple new wrinkles in the kicking game.
So the Bombers now will be one of 4 teams in the East Division of the Canadian Football League. 3 of those clubs will make the playoffs, but the road to the playoffs will not be easy for Winnipeg because the Bombers still have to play Calgary, Edmonton, and the BC Lions 3 times each during the regular season. Peter Watts, TSN, in Toronto.
Okay, Peter, the Blue Bombers in Toronto, and will kick off tomorrow night against the Argonauts in their first game, and the first time the Blue Bombers will be members of the Eastern Division in Canadian football. In a moment, reaction from 2 more CFL general managers, Winnipeg's Cal Murphy and Toronto's Leo Cahill. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN, and welcome to Leo Cahill and Cal Murphy. Gentlemen, let me ask you first of all, what went wrong in Montreal? What happened? Who wants to begin with that?
Well, I think everybody has a theory about that, John, and my theory is that this thing has been coming on for some time, and it probably started back when Scalbania had the football team, and They had a lot of high-priced players brought into Montreal, and it looked like they were going to be greatly improved over the last several years before then. All of a sudden that didn't materialize, and then they had money problems, and the worst thing I think that happened was that the Montreal Alouettes lost their colors and lost their name and become the Concorde, and I think that was hard, very unpalatable for a lot of people in Montreal, and I don't think that they ever were really the same after that, and I think that there was a chain of events that happened after that. You can't all blame it on Skalbania in that situation, but a chain of events happened after that, and there's been a lessening of enthusiasm over there in all sports, even baseball. So how do you figure it out, Cal?
Well, you know, I don't entirely disagree with you, but aside from those years from the middle or the late part of the 1976 season through 77, 78, 79, I guess you might even say 80, what about the years before? They didn't, the people weren't flocking to the park in those days either. I mean, it's always been a troubled franchise.
You know, Cal and Leo, I touched on a point briefly with John earlier that I thought it was a bit ludicrous to have a preseason game in Halifax, but rather to have it in your own city and try and sell the product. How do you think?
Well, I think that they felt that getting away from the city with that football team was going to be good. It was a young football team, and it was their turn, more or less, in the East to take that trip out to the Maritimes. And
well, they'd done it the year before.
I think it was untimely that they did it this year, though. I really do think it was untimely, and this is only in retrospect, but had they stayed in Montreal, I think maybe they could have garnered a little bit more favor, but I think as things have turned out that it's very difficult to even feel that no matter what they did, things were going to be turned around to the extent that they'd have the money and the time and the effort to make this thing a success. And I'm really mad at the fans more than anything else in Montreal, because I've seen those fans come out and have 69,000 out there, Cal, and all of a sudden, where have they all gone?
Well, you know, listen, the popular theory around is that the fans stayed away because they hoped that maybe the team would fold and then they can wait and enjoy an NFL team coming in there.
That's ridiculous. Joe Pinner, I mean, you keep hearing that garbage all the time, and the NFL, I mean, what about cities like Phoenix, Jacksonville, Birmingham? You can go on, and how would you like to be a state senator answering to your people back home if an NFL city came into Canada? The antitrust law would be tested in a hurry, I'll guarantee you that much. There's absolutely no way they'll come in here at all.
Jump in, Leo.
We haven't even talked about the single ownership that's demanded in the National Football League, too, and you're talking 80 or 90 million dollars. That's American dollars.
Plus 20 million to run the team.
How about
the football team?
add on 45% for the Canadian dollar?
All right. Long-term survival of the Canadian Football League. What kind of an effect does the Alouette demise have on that?
Right now, I think it's a positive effect, to be honest with you. And I may seem silly saying that, but
why? Why is it positive?
We're all putting money, gate equalization money into teams like Montreal, and we've been propping them up. And we could use the money ourselves. For instance, we put $167,000 into gate equalization last year. If we don't have to put that much money into gate equalization, we're going to be better off. We'll have a more stable franchise ourselves. Plus, we have an 8-way split of the TV. And I'm not saying that, you know, I don't want to, I didn't want to lose Montreal or anything like that. But it is no domino effect. There's no way.
Leo, is it better to get rid of a weak sister at this point and carry on?
I think that over the last 3 years, or maybe even farther back than that, that 65,000-seat stadium with maybe 8,000 or 10,000 people at the most, sparsely located in that stadium, had a eroding effect on the entire league. And every time they showed that stadium over there on a television day, it made everybody think that the league was in real serious problems. Now I think you're going to see full stadiums. I think you're going to see reaction. I think you're going to see balance and parity. We're delighted to have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Eastern Division, and we'll take out those Westerners, what we call.
Well, right, we'll get them.
What are they saying in Winnipeg, gateway to the West, about waking up this morning and being an Eastern team?
Well, we were kidding about it earlier today and saying, you know, the people west of Brandon, they don't even think we're part of the West, and the people back east, they don't think we're part of anything, so we feel like we're kind of in the middle of a sandwich, but we're happy to be a part of the East, Leo, and I think you know, we've got a pretty good rivalry going with you people. I know that whenever we play you in Winnipeg, We get good crowds out there, and
it's the same here too, Cal. I think it's a natural rivalry, and it's maybe you'll find it a little tougher in the East than you thought it was going to be.
Hey, I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, we got 9 games, though, with BC and Edmonton and Calgary. Well, we got enough troubles out there without even worrying about you guys.
No, but you must feel pretty good about things moving to the East, because now you become, even though Hamilton won the Grey Cup, you become the prime team in the Eastern Conference to finish first on paper.
Have you looked at our schedule?
No, I know you've got a tough schedule. Everybody's got a tough schedule, but
yeah, I know.
I mean, you become the prime contender to finish first.
I don't mean to take anything away from the Argos, but on the plane on the way down today, I asked Mike Riley. I said, Mike, what is the best team you've seen on film this year? And he said Hamilton. And you know, it isn't just the Argos. I mean, it's Hamilton. We know that Ottawa is a much better football team as well. And I'll tell you something else that everybody forgets. After we get finished with this draft on Friday, where teams like Ottawa can pick up people, and Saskatchewan can pick up people ahead of us, ahead of Toronto, they'll be better football teams again.
Okay, where do we go from here with this Canadian Football League? Will this wake up the fans? Will this wake up the league in a way? Do you think it's stronger, Leo?
I think that where necessity was a counterpart, like in Calgary last year, the people arose to the occasion and said, we want the Canadian Football League. This year it manifested itself again in Saskatchewan when they needed help. John Robertson, Lancaster, Reed, and all those guys went out there, and everybody answered the call. I think that there's certainly a place for the Canadian Football League, and the thing that I really feel sad about is that I think that a real unifying factor in the Canadian way of living has been the Grey Cup, and without Montreal in it, it's going to be a sad day.
You were after the media in Toronto, I read this morning somewhere.
Well, from time to time I made some statements.
You said that the media coverage was unfair, I think, or at least words to that effect, Leo. So
I really believe, though, that the media has been taking some cheap shots at us generally and at the league specifically, and I think a lot of it's unwarranted, because I think that if you go to Chicago or even New York, you're going to find out that most of the media people are great homers when it comes to their hometown team, but we don't find that in our own city, and I think that we do have some people that are great supporters of us, and I applaud them, but there are people that I think look for the negative and concentrate on the negative instead of really stressing the positive, and I think that can hurt.
You know, gentlemen, I think something that'll be really interesting for the fans in the next few days will be that dispersal draft, and I understand that will take place just like a normal draft that you had in February, with Ottawa selecting first and then Saskatchewan and so on. But do you think a lot of guys are really going to get drafted from that team, or how will it work?
Well, Cal, I think that, you know, there's 8 teams now that'll be grabbing from that situation, and it's not necessarily a draft. It's just going to be, you'll pick a guy up on waivers in your turn. And I think that, you know, after you get by 2 rounds, 16 players, that it might thin out. And
let me interrupt. Just when you say pick up on waivers, does that mean you pick up his contract, or is
right? You pick up any player that's under contract. All the specifics of his contract will be honored by the team that picks him up.
So that's going to hurt a few guys with the salary cap. Not Montreal. Well, you got the Toaster, Iraqi, some guys that are earning the big buck. You know, a lot of teams might say, geez, I might like him, but we've got $2.8 million salary cap.
All the bucks, they'll be all right.
No, but that's, you know, the $2.8 million, can we fit it in our budget? We need the guy, but I don't know.
That's where you find out what kind of a administrator you are and what kind of a general manager you are, and hopefully Cal and I will fit through this thing and make it work. But you know, you can't spend a lot of money on everybody, but you take the people that you need the most, and if they're high-priced people, then you get somebody that you don't need as much and maybe pay them less. And that's the way that you go in this thing. And I think you'll find that Iraqi will be picked up, and the Toaster will be picked up, and Hood will be picked up, and all of these guys that are great football players are going to find a home.
Before we wrap this up, let me throw one name in, and that's Norm Kimball. Does he take a lot of responsibility for what's happened in Montreal and what's happened in the CFL?
Well, you know, Norm and I have never exchanged Christmas cards.
I do remember that.
But let me say this, that Mr. Kimball got out of this thing, I think, in a very honorable way. He could have waited for 3 or 4 games, and he could have put the whole league in jeopardy by waiting for so long. But he found out that he wasn't going to be able to carry on, and he's paying his players. He's going out without any creditors down his throat, and they're not running him out of town. And you know, all in all, I think that that takes a lot of credit. And as he said today, emotionally, if he had to do it, he'd still be in Montreal. But from good common sense, he just felt that he had to make that move, and I agree with him.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much, and good luck to one of you tomorrow night.
I know you're talking to me.
There will be football tomorrow, and we'll have the action on TSN with local blackouts in effect. The Bombers and the Argos live at 7:30 Eastern. Other games this week: Friday, Hamilton and Ottawa, no change there. Saturday, Calgary goes to Edmonton instead of the Blue Bombers. Sunday is scheduled. It'll be the BC Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders as we wind up Week 1 in the Canadian Football League. And that wraps up a special edition of the CFL Report. Leaf and I will be back in 7 days, and we'll be back to continue here with a final word right after this. It's time for a couple of final thoughts. The Alouettes are gone. Let's see what positive aspect we can get out of this for the Canadian Football League. Leaf Pedersen.
Well, I tell you, John, the positive aspect for me is I get to do the Winnipeg Blue Bombers tomorrow night.
Now that's going to be a better game.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a great game. Tom Clements and his passing crew with Perry Tuttle, James Murphy, and Jeff Boyd. I mean, it's a super show to come into Toronto, and I'd prefer to do them than in Montreal anyway. So
the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, an Eastern Division team, and that's a little strange. We'll have to get used to that.
I like it. I like it.
That wraps up a special edition of the CFL Report. Leaf and I will be back in 7 days, and we'll be at the ballpark tomorrow night. Bombers and the Argos, 7:30 Eastern on TSN. Local blackouts will be in effect. Our first telecast tomorrow.
TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.